Hello and welcome. You are now entering the landscape dimension of WeLand, a collective and emergent design process tool. We call this a metacard because once you go through, you'll land in the landscape dimension of WeLand, the first of 5 dimensions. But to go in, you first need to position yourself about your relationship to land and landscape. So, what is landscape? Well, the European Landscape Convention says that it is an area of land whose character is the result of the actions and interactions of human and natural factors. But that's just the beginning. How deep do you want to go down the rabbit hole? Let's see. We are walking on top of a floating sphere in the middle of the universe that has been evolving for ages. First, the geological and morphological processes began evolving, followed by the ecological processes. These defined the biosphere of Earth, where human communities settled and evolved, and where these communities defined their singular cultures through their distinct ways of relating and adapting to their environment. It is this relationship between communities and nature that defines the process that has developed the landscape. So, landscape is therefore a systemic expression of physical, cultural, and emotional processes, and therefore shares the essence of the community itself. This may seem pretty complex, and I guess that makes sense, as life is complex. For this reason, we are proposing WeLand as a tool to help manage and sustain complexity. Are you aware of how much complexity you can sustain? Let's see. How do you experience landscape? As you know, a paradigm is the way we understand the world we live in. There are many paradigms that coexist in our communities. Some of them are very old, others are fairly new, and they are all constantly evolving. The first paradigms emerged a long time ago, when humanity was in a stage focused on covering basic needs, a somewhat reactive paradigm to its context. Perhaps you remember the Maslow pyramid? Well, this would be the lowest level. This paradigm is still present in our society today, in communities that have been through deep trauma like war, migration, a dictatorship, etc. In these cases of strong structural violence, the evolution of our cultures experiences a reset, and we have to start from the beginning, sometimes even losing the memory of how it was before. This paradigm defines the features of the landscape through an interaction based on extraction, by a culture that is either very young or has experienced a reset due to trauma. It is focused on a basic position of maintaining life, and the outcome is a deeply degraded landscape close to collapse. But cultures can heal fast, and we can evolve to other paradigms easier than we think, and even more if we are aware of it. The next paradigm develops cultures with more complex relationships with nature. In human history, this paradigm emerged when agricultural systems appeared. In present times, we can see this paradigm manifested in cultures which treat nature as a resource that we can use to improve our quality of life, such as through mining or large-scale agricultural ventures. In this paradigm, people are aware that if they destroy the ecosystem, they also destroy their privileged access to foods and other resources provided by nature. This makes land management practices less aggressive than the prior paradigm. However, cultures are still based on covering their materialistic needs, and the interaction with their ecosystem is based on scarcity and simplified relationships. By evolving these cultures a bit more, we enter the paradigm of sustainability. This is when communities start to understand that nature is not only fundamental to our materialistic needs, but is also deeply related to our health and our emotions, as well as our identity and culture itself. This sustainability paradigm wants to conserve and even restore the landscape, and engages the population to reflect upon its impact upon the land and the planet in general, and to stop certain polluting practices. However, sustainable cultures are still anthropocentric and perceive human settlements as separate from natural ecosystems, but they do so with respect. Is there anything beyond sustainability? Maybe you have heard of regeneration? The regenerative paradigm leaves the anthropocentric approach behind, understanding nature as a living being within which we are embedded. This paradigm means that we become a conscious landscape. There's no separation anymore, because we are nature, and we treat nature as our home, as the matrix where we live in. To put it simply, we become conscious that we are landscape. The main features of this regenerative landscape are related to integration, abundance, and evolution. Culture expresses this landscape from a holistic perspective, and the systemic interactions with landscape are related to symbiosis and reciprocity. So, which is your paradigm? What is the essence of your landscape? And how deep do you want to go down the rabbit hole?